Superman / Batman Apocalypse was very nice and I enjoyed it. That almost came out like Borat. Very nice. But anyways, before I get into my review of this movie, please consider this your spoiler warning because I will be talking spoiler-ish. So you've been warned. Now, this is a sequel of Superman and Batman Public Enemies. In this one, well, it's a standalone. So basically that. It's from a comic book arc where Supergirl is the main character, if you will, or she's at least the subject matter in both, as far as the comic book. This movie, well, before I get into it, so Batman discovers that there's this Kryptonian girl, which we know as Supergirl, and he has his suspicions, like, hey, where is she popped off from? You tell Superman, like, you're the only one that we know is Kryptonian because that's what you told us. Your planet was destroyed, and all of a sudden this girl pops up and she claims to be from Krypton. So, it's Batman. He's always suspicious about crap. So Wonder Woman makes an appearance. They take her to, Wonder Woman takes her back to her home. And the Amazons kind of train her, trying to hone her fighting skills. And because she's kind of reckless, like most teenagers, she's wild and she doesn't want to listen to authority and all that stuff. And so Wonder Woman kind of takes her under her wings and she becomes friends with like these Amazonians there. Then Darkseid comes and kidnaps her and tries to turn her into this evil right hand man, as Darkseid often does. And Superman has to unite forces with Batman to help Supergirl kind of overcome that, and they do. And they, Superman and Supergirl, well, Supergirl becomes part of the Justice League, or at least a ward for Superman, and they're gonna kind of be like a team. And that's basically it. Now, yes, if you're familiar with my channel, I don't really go into too much depth over the plot. Go watch the movie if you want to get the full experience. It's just a synopsis and a real quick rundown of the plot, because that's not really important. The important part is, did I find it enjoyable? Did I find it entertaining? What did I think about the drawing style, and what I think about the music, and what do I think about how the script was? And all of those factors, I have to say, for a movie that was done in 2010, it was really well done. Now, if you're familiar with the 2000s and even kind of late 1990s and 2000s with that kind of art style, this is definitely that. Now, before I continue, I do enjoy the new B-52 line of where and just the animated versions of it, not even just the comic book versions, the ones we see in the DCAU. I'm a huge fan of that art style and I like it. But when I was watching this for a second, I said, wow, they should have kept this kind of art style and pushed it forward as much as they can. Now, hindsight's 2020. Now that I've seen what they've done, of course, I'm like, well, it was a good choice. But for a slight second, I was like, I really like this animation. The girls with the big eyes, kind of the proportion. Superman's super huge. I mean, it's visually appealing to your eyes. I thought the script was well written. The voice acting was kind of sus, especially from Darkseid. Darkseid has to have a deep, menacing voice. And the actor that was playing him did not have that kind of deep, menacing voice that we're used to. The actor that was portraying him was Andre Brogher. I butchered his name. I hate last names. I butchered them so much. And he does an admirable job, but I just think as far as for Darkseid, it needs to be just super deep. And I mean, I'm not going to bust in my Batman voice, but it just needs to be super deep and menacing, something that I don't have. But other than that, I thought it was well voice acted. Like I said earlier, the animation was good, the script was good, the soundtrack was dope. I did think though it was a bit too long, and this is coming from a movie that's 100. I mean 100, an hour and 18 minutes. They could have cut off 20 minutes, though. There was the first fight with Darkseid, right, in Darkseid's planet. Then they have the last fight in Clark Kent's parents' farm. And I'll tell you this, the action when the first fight, it was like what you expect from an animated movie. But the second one in the farm was so fast paced, was so good, that I was like, wow, they were pushing the limits of what they can do in animation with this movie, because it was so fast paced, it was so crisp, it was just so good. From the explosions to the reaction, the whole thing was just so nicely done for this movie, and I completely was entertained. Now again, it does create, this movie does have pacing issues in the beginning and mid act. That's probably the only nitpick that I could have as much as this, because it does take a while for it to get up to speed as far as like the action or what we're used to now. I have to recognize that I'm watching this in a 2021 eye after I've seen already all the new DCAU movies, animated movies that have come out. And maybe I'm judging it a little bit with those eyes. But if I was to watch this in 2010 when this came out, I would have been awestruck. So I completely recommend you guys to go check this out. Now, again, like I said in the beginning, if this is a standalone animation, it's not attached to anything. There's no continuation. There's no other stories. The only, so like I say, you want to watch Public Enemies and then watch Superman, Batman, Apocalypse, and that's basically it. There's nothing before it. There's nothing after it. It's just a standalone. But for it being just a standalone movie, you don't even have to watch Public Enemy. You could just watch this one and be content. It's nicely done. And I know I'm 11 years too late, but those people that did this movie should be congratulated, should take a bow, because they did a very nice job. So for me, this movie was a B plus, not quite an A, just because as far as Power or Supergirl stories go, they could have chosen a better one than this one to bring to life. But I respect it. And Darkseid being so the voice and the pacing issues and the soundtrack, I can't even remember it. So it was very forgettable, even though there was points in it where it does give it some epicness, but it never reaches its full potential. Now, mind you, again, 2010, it wasn't really all that like important to have a great, amazing soundtrack, even though we did have soundtracks like from Transformers back in those days, but it wasn't really something that the DC animation kind of gravitated to until later works that we see now, that they bring that epicness to the animation. So for me, this movie is just a B plus, not a bad rating whatsoever. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. And like always, that's a wrap.